So bad posture can be a real pain in the neck, and this is talking about forward head position, okay? So forward head position is kind of like the cousin to upper cross syndrome. And in upper cross syndrome, you're dealing with some similar muscles, but not all of the same muscles. So for forward head position, we're still dealing with tight upper traps, tight levator scapulae muscles, and then also we get this new muscle on the anterior portion of our neck called our sternocleidomastoid, okay, otherwise known as the SCM. This muscle is the one that allows for flexion of the neck. And think about it like this. I have a phone in front of me. What am I doing right now? Texting. What muscle is shortened right now? The SCM. So what can we do to take such a daily habit and correct it so that we are able to live optimally in better positions? That's what we're going to show you right now. But a couple other muscles that need to be worked on. We talked about the deep cervical flexors for upper cross syndrome. That's definitely going to be one that's going to cross over into this condition. And then also, we're going to be looking again at the middle and lower traps and how we can be able to strengthen those to ensure that our head draws back over our shoulders and stacks in a vertical fashion over our body, okay? So the first move I can't really do just because of the structure of the space, but I'm going to show it to you in a different way than the picture describes. So using a SMR ball, we are going to find a post of some sort. So in my picture, I use the edge of a squat rack to be able to bend over and apply pressure directly on the top of the trap muscle, okay? So when you do this, the top of the trap muscle is the superior portion of the shoulder. All of that pressure you can do by leaning into it, you can really press your feet into the ground and give it most body weight so that you can cause inhibition at a faster rate. Once you have, I'll face you for this way. Once you have the ball on the shoulder, you'll be able to tilt your head away, which will lengthen not only the trap, but will also start lengthening this SCM muscle, the sternocleidomastoid, all right? This muscle is the one that's going to be pulling our head down in this forward head position. And combined with the trap, it's like, again, I mentioned Bonnie and Clyde earlier with the levator scapulae. This muscle is the one that's going to be causing this position of your head protruding forward. And one thing to know about when your head protrudes forward is you have some vertical gravity that's pulling down on your head. The more that your head protrudes forward, the more weight of gravity pulls down on your cervical spine, which can cause very, very severe cervical issues. So if our head weighs anywhere between 7 to 9 pounds and we're moving forward, think about how much additional weight that could potentially add to the cervical pressure that's pulling down on your upper spine. All right. So by doing something like this, we inhibit that muscle and allow us to get a little bit more freedom of movement. But that's not the only thing that we have to do to inhibit. So we hit the trap, we do some lateral stretching of our neck, we move on to the levator scapulae. So I have a smaller ball here that has a studded complex to it, something about the size of a golf ball, maybe a lacrosse ball or baseball could be used. Again, Trigger Point makes balls that are about the size of a tennis ball that would work too. You want to find the top portion of your trap right where you can reach around and grab that little common knot that most people can feel. So this is kind of like the superior edge of your scapula where this muscle tends to lie, okay? It's between there and your cervical spine that the muscle connects to, and it allows for some upward rotation of the scapula, a little bit of elevation as well. And this is another muscle in addition to the trap that gets very overactive. By using a small trigger point device or small object that can apply direct pressure to this, you'll want to be able to go up against a wall or maybe lying down on the ground to be able to target this area. The wall would be easier, but one thing I recommend is that you put your arm behind your back, which will cause a little bit of lateral winging of the scapula, and this will lengthen the levator scapulae just a little bit, okay? And then by leaning against the wall, you're applying direct pressure on that region, which could then be able to inhibit it even further. So by doing that, we're really trying to go all in on relaxing the traps, the levator scapulae, a little bit of sternocleidomastoid, and ensuring that we are turning off those muscles before we move on. Because what happens is if we go on to try to strengthen the lower and or the middle and lower trapezius muscles without inhibiting these first, guess who is going to dominate the movement? Those two areas. Okay, so we need to turn them off first in order to get to the proper stretching and activating positions. Okay, so now moving forward, to lengthen this region, we really want to target that sternocleidomastoid muscle. So I'm going to slide this over real quick. Get this really up close to you so you can see this. So we're going to find ourselves in a bench or a box or something that you can hook your hand under. This is going to be the really important part of this exercise. So for this box, I have a large wide surface area that I'm sitting on. You could use, like in a gym, a utility bench would be perfect for this. Hook your hand under and slide yourself away from it. This way you can lean in the opposite direction, which will allow the shoulder to be pulling down and get some stretch into the sternocleidomastoid muscle. So here's what we're going to do. Hook under, slide away, lean your body this direction, okay? And then we're tilting our head away from the shoulder that's being lengthened out. So initially, you should start to feel a stretch in your trap, maybe into your neck, maybe even down your arm, okay? And then we want to tilt our ear to our opposite shoulder, okay, to start getting some lateral stretching here into the neck, okay? And then take your hand, apply brief pressure and relax. So dynamically, brief pressure, relax just to get the feel for it. And then you're going to go statically and hold that stretch, okay? So this is the first position. You're going to go lateral. And then we're going to look up to the sky. And by looking up to the sky, we're going to be able to get the lengthening of the sternocleidomastoid muscle. So it attaches to the edge of your jaw and part of the base of your skull here. And as we reach away, it lengthens fully out into your upper torso region, kind of like where your clavicle is and your shoulder complex is. So as we pull back, big stretching here. The further you point your chin away, the more of a stretch you're going to get on that area. It's painful to begin with, and I want to use pain very lightly. It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to begin with, but the longer you stay in that stretch, the more regular it becomes and the less discomfort that you will feel, okay? So again, reaching, pull the chin away, coming back, okay? Let's go to the other side. So we're going away, tilting, reaching through the edge here, okay? Bring your ear further to your shoulder. Take that chin, start pointing it away. Apply pressure to the outside of your forehead. Oh yeah, big stretch here. Sometimes if you do have an overactive SCM muscle, your jaw might start to open. So as you're pointing your chin away, try to close your mouth and that'll increase the stretch more. That's because we know the muscle is connected directly to the jaw. So let's pull away, clench your jaw. Don't have to clench, but close your jaw. Really feel that through the outside of the neck here. Apply that outside pressure. And that'll be sufficient enough to be able to get some good lengthening of that area. I can already feel my shoulder starting to reset and find its new position. So as with any normal static stretching routine, anywhere between 3 to 5 sets, somewhere between 60 to 120 seconds per stretch is going to be beneficial for that. Obviously, when you start doing all the math and we look at all 3 of these conditions, you want to be able to say, oh, that's definitely going to take over an hour for me to finish. You only need to focus on whatever's relevant to you. Not everybody's going to have upper cross syndrome, lower cross syndrome, and forward head posture all at once. These are just all separate things that you can work on individually, okay? So let's move on to the activate and integrate portions of this particular condition. The first thing we're gonna need to do is figure out first, what are my deep cervical flexors? Okay, the deep cervical flexors are the muscles that are deep within your neck. That's why they're not superficial neck flexors, cervical flexors. They allow for you to tuck your chin, okay? So tucked head position is standard for proper posture of the cervical region. And this is going to allow you to take what's known as this forward head position and push your chin back, okay? When you're here in this stacked position, you have no pressure on the back of your neck, you have no pressure on the front of your neck, and everything is just in a constant equilibrium, okay? The deep cervical flexors are just a muscle that's generally underworked. If we're sitting in awkward positions for long periods of time, we're mostly going to be looking at what we need to do to strengthen those muscles. Because when we're, let's say if we're slouching on the couch or in a chair where we're sitting back and that's causing these front anterior muscles to be turned on to hold our head up. When we're sitting up tall, there's no muscles contracting and we're staying in equal balance for those muscles. So let's talk about what we need to do to strengthen that. All right. I have a resistance band with us right now, and we're going to take the small end of this, if it's a closed loop band like this, and we're going to fix it around the back of our head. And then from here, we have each end of the band in our hands, and we're going to go down into a quadruped position. Now, you can see that this band is putting some significant pressure on my head and pulling my chin down, okay? You may think, oh, Cory, what is going on right there? Well, I need to be able to figure out how to pull my chin back. So it's tucking the chin and tilting the head back. Let me fix this. So it's tucking the chin and tilting the head back. This is going to help me really target the cervical flexors. And even though they're an anterior muscle and it looks like I'm doing a posterior exercise here, these muscles are really working in this position. The key is tucking the chin. And my voice might be changing a little bit because it's getting in the way of my vocal cords, but at the same time, the cervical flexors are the muscles that are working here to help tuck the chin and pull the head back into a proper position. So here, when you pull them back, your head should be stacked over your shoulders, which are stacked over your torso, and in a good position for this quadruped spot. For the prescription for this, we are looking at, just like with the single leg hip thrust for upper cross syndrome, or I'm sorry, lower cross syndrome, we're looking at 10 to 15 reps, 5-second holds per drawback of the chin, okay? You could also do it for time where you draw the chin back and you're holding that position where your head is up tight for about 60 seconds as well. This is a little bit for more endurance, isometric endurance. This will allow you to be able to keep the proper torso position without compromising too much of the other areas of your body. So one of the cool things that we can do as far as integration for this movement is being able to do a pushing or a pulling assessment. So in the diagram, I used a bent over row. We'll use it using the dowel rod today. Just like the NASM push-pull test, we can also see if there's any compensations when we row. So in a bent over row position, I'm in neutral spine, okay? If I pull it up and nothing happens, great. If I pull up and my head drops, that means there's a compensation occurring. So we need to identify, go back and reassess what areas we need to compensate in the corrective exercise continuum to make sure that we are correcting that in the future. Otherwise, it might be the client just needing to do a little bit of extra repetition at the movements that are required for correcting that position. So again, bent over rows. So it could be head protruding forward as he rows, or it could be shoulders elevating and coming up a little bit too high, overcompensating for the movement. So that's the upper traps that are causing the shrugging to happen, right? So two big things that you can do to ensure that we're getting to that forward head position and correcting it to pull back. Thank you.